At what point does a game become a genuine work of art? When would you establish a game as more than zeros and ones on a screen, more than good writing, more than well animated scenes and well drawn characters? At what point does it become a fully comprehensive work of art? Now, in my opinion, the Last of Us embodies what a nearly perfect game can be. Now, nothing is perfect in this world, but the way that they made The Last of Us, the gameplay, the characters, the settings, the animation, the story, all of it is so cohesive and comes together and forms the greatest game I've ever played. And now I know that's an insane statement because I haven't played every game out there, but I don't feel like much could really compare to The Last of Us. And yes, I've played Red Dead Redemption 2, which I know some people would put above The Last of Us, but I just don't see it being very competitive when it comes to that space between The Last of Us and Red Dead. But let me explain why I feel like The Last of Us is the best game possibly ever put out. Starting off with my personal experience of The Last of Us, it's not like anything I've ever really played before, and I say that because the way that it gives you the choice of how to go about the entire game. It gives you that shortage of resources, that slow pace of combat, or the fast pace of combat. It gives you the feeling that you're still a human in the game. You're not an invincible tank that can get shot, wait a few seconds, and heal up like Call of Duty. No, you're a regular person and you need to be stealthy, stay in cover, or you're gonna get hit and you're gonna die. And The Last of Us does such a great job with the world building. Like, the humans in The Last of Us are significantly harder to deal with than the infected in The Last of Us, because the humans are way more unpredictable. And The Last of Us also gives you this feeling of desperateness when you play the game. Like, I have to scrap up whatever I can find to be able to even compete with whatever's going on. And that is what also draws you into more of immersion of the game. And I have never played a game that made me feel that way. The Last of Us doesn't even have a map or a HUD to tell you where to go. And I'm terrible when it comes to finding where to go on my own in games. So plenty of times I will get lost, and but it has this helpful thing. It pops up like a little hint screen, and it shows you where you should actually be moving to, but then it disappears really quickly to not break immersion from the game. And I'm just gonna go even deeper into why I think this game is the best game I've ever played. Now, a very large part of what makes a game good is the characters it has. And honestly, I think The Last of Us has some of the best, most realistic, well-written characters that I've ever played in the game. And the characters make the story. The development you see with people while they go through trauma together and they make such special, strong bonds is unlike anything I've ever seen in another game. And moments where the characters are sad, like when Ellie was yelling at Joel because Joel was the only person in her life that hadn't left her yet. She was telling Joel that everyone up to that point has either died or left her except him, and she was mad at him because he was going to leave. He was going to give her to Tommy and then just leave. Now that's a realistic reaction. You've been through so much, like you formed this father-daughter bond with each other, and you think it's just going to be thrown away that simple. And no, people don't work like that. That's a feeling of betrayal that Ellie's feeling. It's completely normal. It's completely rational. And honestly, it's such a well fleshed out moment, such a well fleshed out cutscene that I don't see many coming close to that. It's just so real. Like, it makes emotions real in that game. It doesn't give you this false or fake overreaction or over the top dialogue. It's real dialogue, bunch of cussing, a bunch of hurtful words being said in the heat of the moment, but that's just real. Now, moving back to the beginning of the game, you were able to play as Joel's daughter, Sarah, who was the blonde girl you played as in the beginning. And you could see the infection really start to hit where they were living at hard. Joel ended up killing one of his neighbors because he was infected, and he was trying to get out of the city with his brother Tommy and his daughter Sarah. And unfortunately, his daughter Sarah died in his arms because she was shot. And that, you see how that really changed Joel jumping forward ahead into the story from that point to where Joel was now. Because in the beginning he seemed like a laid back, kind of a happy, positive, well-doing father. But moving forward, Joel has a very cold demeanor, wants to be very calculated, doesn't want the people around him to get hurt at all because he's been through that trauma. That's a well fleshed out character, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know how else to put it. Like, that is character development. And then unfortunately, later on in the story, they not unfortunately, they meet Ellie, and they begin venturing more and more, and Tess gets bitten, and she tells Joel that this is serious and how Ellie is immune, and Ellie's immune to okay, let's rewind. Ellie got bitten too, right? And Ellie's bite was 3 weeks old, and there was no infection spreading. It was just a bite mark. Tess's bite was 1 hour old, and it was significantly worse than Ellie's. And Joel did not want Tess to die. And Tess was telling Joel, you have to take her to figure out how to get some treatment for all these people in the world. This could be very important, Joel. We need you to do this. And Joel was apprehensive about it. He didn't want Tess to die. He didn't want to leave her there. Joel was so shocked. You can see the shock on his face. The characters in this game are so... I can make a whole 30-minute video about how good the characters are fleshed out in this game. So you can see Tess slowly realizing that she is going to die, and she needs to hold off the people coming through the door for as long as possible. And it's honestly very emotional. Like this game makes you actually feel things, because I thought that Tess was going to be in the game until the end, because I've never played the game before, but she wasn't. And that was just insane to me, how they could kill off a character like that. But then after that, Joel and Ellie, are moving through and, hiding from the people that killed Tess after they see her body. And it was just an amazing, impactful moment. And also, I wanted to talk about how in the beginning, Ellie felt responsible for why Tess died, because they were trying to move her through the city to get her to the Fireflies, which is a group in The Last of Us that, they're like a militia, a private militia, and they were going to try to find a cure. But Ellie was blaming herself and apologizing to Joel for how Tess died, and Joel didn't want to hear any of it. And the last thing I have as far as characters go is how cold Joel was towards Ellie in the beginning. He didn't want to get attached to anybody else, because he felt like the people around him are either leaving or dying. And that's just real. In a situation like that, I can't blame him. But the last thing to cheer things up is how much of a smart mouth Ellie has. Like when they first met Bill, she was like, "Fuck you, Bill, let me out of these handcuffs," and she hit Bill with a metal pipe on his arm or some shit. It was so funny. Like, honestly, great game. Moving on past the character. Sorry that took so long. Another big part of this game that I love so much is the gameplay. How it slows everything down so much. You have to be strategic. You have to manage your supplies, and the gameplay is unlike any game I've ever played before. You have to consistently manage resources, because finding ammo or supplies can become a big rarity. And honestly, if you run out of bullets, you're just out of bullets. I've been out of bullets for like an entire chapter, and I find some at the very end moving into a fight. You have to constantly use stealth, or you can easily get overwhelmed by enemies or swarms of infected. Like, I thought I could go and just swinging all around, but no, Joel gets overwhelmed. When he gets overwhelmed, he literally gets down and like kind of curls into a ball on the ground, just covering his head up. So you have to back up, get your bearings again, and start fighting again. And I love that. Like, it doesn't let you unrealistically just swing around at infected or just nothing. It's just so cool. And the use of bottles and bricks to distract enemies was a huge factor in stealth. Like, you could find bottles and bricks more than anything in the game, so you always just kept one on you, because you would need it from time to time. And getting detected was not hard to do at all if you don't stay down. And honestly, sometimes enemies can even see you over cover if it didn't cover you well enough. And the game was just had such good realism, and it was just so amazing to see such interesting gameplay. Like, I love dark gameplay and no HUD, stealthing it out, moving slowly, limited resources. That really showed you how much of a survivor-esque world they were in, because the combat of the game, as I said before, it's so slow paced, and it can feel really realistic. Like when Joel sneaks up behind somebody to get a stealth kill, it takes a while for him to strangle them out. Like, it takes a good few seconds of them struggling and Joel just having a really nice choke in, and them finally passing. But it's just so realistic how much of a struggle everything is to do in that game, and it's honestly just unlike any game I've ever played. And it's also how many little small things like that the characters do in the gameplay or in the fighting. Like when Joel is sneaking around, killing people, Ellie's like, holy shit, Joel. Like that's something that happens all the time in the game, because Ellie's seeing this man massacre people to get to where he needs to. And honestly, that's a real reaction. Like if I'm walking, if there's this big dude, big southern dude, just like moving around and protecting me and just taking down anything in his way, I'm gonna be pretty surprised at how he's acting too. But also another cool thing is that enemies, when you're in combat and you're shooting, sometimes I forget that I'm gonna run out of bullets, so I shoot my whole clip out and I'm still pressing R2 to squeeze the trigger, and it clicks and enemies are like, he's out of ammo, and then they rush in at you. And that's so cool. Like, wow, like that's such a cool detail, because honestly that's real. If I'm trying to fight somebody and I hear their gun click, I'm gonna give it one last shot, one last hoorah, and rush at them, because you know that's just that you gotta live, don't you? And honestly, another thing is that enemies realistically react to their comrade's death. Like when someone dies, they're like, holy shit, he killed Ethan, you know. And that's realist. Like if you're surviving in a post-apocalyptic world with, you know, you and your private militia, and two people come out of nowhere and start killing people, and your militia really like stealthily and you can't find them, and your friend gets killed right in front of you, and you're gonna yell their name, you're gonna be surprised, and you're gonna cuss out the person that killed them and try to get at them, which is real. And they have such real reactions to gameplay, and like it's not like any gameplay I've played. I don't know how to put it into words, but I'm putting it on the screen. As you can see, it really slows everything down to like a crawl. Like the game literally tells you, I died plenty of times playing that game. The game literally tells you, be careful with how you fight. Do you have enough resources to go shooting people, or do you need to play it slowly and stealthily? Another I can't talk. And another cool detail I saw in that game was that you can run out of bullets, but you're not running out of options. Like when you run out of bullets, your gun starts clicking, an enemy can start rushing you. Do you have a bottle? Do you have a brick? You can throw that brick at your enemy and go up and just start duking it out, punching until your enemy's asleep or you get killed, because there's really no in-betweens. And honestly, they do such a good job with the combat. But I've been on combat for too long. My video is getting a little long anyway, so I'm gonna move on. Oh, excuse me. I'm gonna move on to a few more topics. What will probably be my last topic for this video, well, second to last topic, is how the infected act and how terrifying it must be to be trapped in a body like that. Now, if you didn't know in The Last of Us, when you get infected, you're trapped in your own body. You can't control what's going on. Like there's been times where you're creeping around trying to hide from infected and all of that, and you can hear them saying, oh my god, and just being sad that they can't do anything about what they have going on. Like they can't move their body, they can't make themselves stop. That's why oftentimes when people get bitten, they ask to die. They don't want to turn into one of those things because they don't want to harm the people around them, and they don't want to be trapped like that. So death is a sweeter embrace than getting turned into a zombie 100%. They cannot be healed from it. You know, it's such a terrifying thing to know exists in that series, well, in the game. And it's just, thinking about it, it must be terrible for the people that are trapped in their own bodies. Like, that's so scary. At what point do you become so desperate as to where you wish your brain would just turn off because you can't control what you're doing anyways? Like, man, it's insane how they do that. And again, the infected are like, they're in swarms most of the time, so using your gun is not the best option. It should be a last resort. You should craft a shiv or just move around slowly and try to get them one by one. Now, one of the scariest opponents in the infected in these games are 100,000% the clickers. I can't name how many times these little shits have crawled up or sneaked up on me and fucked me right up the ass. Like, pause. Like, what's up? Multiple times, like, I've been sneaking around trying to get to each clicker, and I just step on some glass or some shit, and then the clicker's just gonna start running at me. That's the sound they make if you don't know. And then, like, it's cool because, like, they run at you. If you can duck off fast enough and just start sneaking around really slow, you can live. If you move around, crouch around the clicker, they're gonna hear you. You have to crouch and then move and barely move your left stick so they don't hear you and sneak up behind them. And honestly, I love that because clickers make you slow down in the game, unless you're just gonna try to gun through the whole thing and die. Which, no, clickers make you slow down to the point where, like, you're gonna die if you don't take it slow through each area, you know. And I find that just so intriguing about how they can make a character so scary that just can't see. But clickers are also very durable. I think they may be like the second most durable infected in the game. And the last one that I could think of are the bloaters. Now bloaters are people that have been infected for years. So like bloaters are clickers if clickers took steroids and you know, were stuck in a goon cave for a long time and not moving around. So like bloaters get infected for years and they get big, and they you know, they're bloated up and they can throw projectiles at the player that can harm them, and they're really hard to kill, so it's best to avoid them. You know, I don't know what you could do to beat a bloater easily. It took all the bullets I had when they were fighting, when I was fighting the bloaters in that little gym. And it's insane to fight bloaters. I know I've been rambling on. I promise you, it's coming to a close. Just give me 1 second. And honestly, I'm really far into this video, but if you watch this far, please consider subscribing. I appreciate all of it, every little subscriber. It really means something, because on YouTube it's a little weird building a community, because, you know, it's just so strange. But anyways, moving right on, but right back to The Last of Us. Bloaters are the most durable enemies in the game, and they're pretty scary. And for my final topic, it's just the story in general. The story mixed with the gameplay, mixed with the characters, created something amazing. You know, like the story of, you know, having to get this immune girl states away through infected, you know, meeting new people, finding resources, you know, while they're scarce, was amazing. You know, it's just so, it's such a great game. But that's all I got for y'all today. If y'all watch this far, somehow you're still with me, this is probably the longest video I've ever made. And if this does well, I might make even longer videos. But I know people don't like to hear me ramble for that long. But I love all of y'all. If you watch this far, I really appreciate it. And you know, road to 2,000 subs. Well, how about this? Road to 1,200 subs. Let's make smaller goals and get there and get there and get there. And I love all y'all. Don't forget, you can do whatever you set your mind to. I'm not being shallow. Honestly, I promise you I'm not. Just go get up and do something in the morning to, you know, further your life and make things better for yourself. I love all y'all. It's a blessing to have y'all here. Thank you for watching this far. I love y'all. Bye.